Hello and welcome to Mascara and Chapstick Twitter. My name's Kackie. I'll be your guide. What's up guys? Welcome back. I'm really sorry if the lighting's really harsh. The last video was so difficult to edit and to color correct because the clouds kept covering the sun. Everything turned blue and then it turned orange and then it blew out and then it got dark. Anyway guys, today we are finally going to be playing with a little new company called Subtle Beauty. If you are in any of the algorithm audience pools that I'm in, you're getting this advertised to you quite a lot, and it is a very Instagrammable aesthetic, isn't it? This gradient, this ombre effect. So Subtle Beauty basically is this girl on the go type makeup idea where each of these is a little tub of a product. So we have a shine control powder, a highlighter, a bronzer. Actually, I get two bronzers, a lip and cheek cream, and then a concealer. And it comes also on the bottom with a little applicator that makes me feel like I am playing with Poppin' Kitchen makeup. Anyway, we're going to be putting all of this on my face today, but it's going to be a pretty straightforward makeup application because this is all meant to be super duper lightweight. It is an incredibly, oh boy, yeah, it's a subtle face of makeup. I'll be here all week. We're going to talk about ingredients, whether this meets all of our clean beauty standards. This was just something that was requested by a lot of you guys individually, and so I felt like it deserved to be on my channel. I like reviewing emerging brands because I just like my channel to be a destination where things are a little bit different. So all that said, let's move you guys in. We'll put some makeup on my face and try and make something happen here. My lips are thriving, thanks for asking. They finally calmed down and my dermatologist was so convinced. She's like, it's people like you who freak out about it in the beginning that once it finally goes down, you're the kind of person that comes in for a second syringe. And I'm like, no. She's like, well, I'd love for you to break my streak because it happens every single time. And I'm here to say I'm going to break her streak because I think that they're perfect. And yes, we still have a little bit of bruising. I'm still a little bit swollen right here. I need to like keep massaging them. You have to massage them. But thanks for not saying anything crappy on my last video. They looked pretty wild. I'm not totally sure like the order you're supposed to do this in because I have been trying this over the last couple of days and it's an interesting combination, right, of powders and creams. It'd be one thing if we were dealing with only a cream concealer and then everything else was powders, but we also have a cream lip and cheek. So I think that what I'm gonna do, since I already have my SPF on and everything, is do the concealer and then the powder and then all the powder products and do blush last. And then I also got this little brush, says Subtle Beauty on it, and it's like meant to travel with, and it is for everything. Essentially, it's for all your powder products. Let's talk about this concealer here. I got it in the shade Fair, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, it's not like the fairest shade. You know, I am not the fairest person in the world. I am definitely pale, but there are definitely people who that would not be brightening concealer shade for. Keep that in mind, that is the lightest shade. And I think that this is definitely a fingers application kind of thing. I'm not going to pull sponges and brushes out and stuff on this other than what was part of what I ordered, because this is supposed to be something that's so on the go, you know? And I appreciate that. I do think that there is a customer for this. This is definitely very similar to the Glossier customer, but does Glossier deserve to be the only player in this space? Absolutely not, you know? I think that this is a really travel-friendly concept, and if it works out, the prices are actually pretty good on these products. So it's definitely a much oilier formula than Glossier. It's thinner on the skin, like it doesn't have that glossy bouncy thing that Glossier does, but it does have a fair bit of coverage and it does feel pretty buildable. Once I build this on top of my like bruising and melasma on my lips look so much smaller. Like it's a contour almost because it's bruised and because I have so much melasma. I was at my dermatologist and I was like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of waiting for it to cool off before I get a peel. She's like, just totally like wasn't even looking me in the eye. She's like across the room, she goes, it's time. It's time. But a brand did reach out to me just the other day asking if I wanted to try their like clinical grade peel at home. And I said yes. So we'll see if that's what ends up happening. But if not, I need to go in and just get a regular peel because the pigmentation, it's it's getting too real. But I have found recently that there's been a lot of skincare that's really been helping. One of them was going back to the Sunday Riley vitamin C serum. It's just really bouncy and actually does a good job brightening versus a lot of the other vitamin C's that I've tried. And I've also been obsessed with the Drunk Elephant Glycolic Night Serum. That I saw a difference in my skin overnight. I woke up the next morning and I was like, yes, yes, that is a difference. I could see a brightening difference. I could see a texture difference. And I don't have sensitive skin though. One of you guys was actually messaging me about it on Instagram. You were like, oh, you know, you have sensitive skin, so I assume it's okay for sensitive skin. I was like, I don't have sensitive skin. I have really poor cell turnover, and so all those AHAs and gentle acids and things like that, my skin's really tough to them. So keep that in mind when I'm recommending products. I can use Sunday Riley Good Genes like every day on my skin if I haven't had a peel recently and it doesn't complain. So that is the initial application of the concealer. Experience has taught me that that won't be the last application of the concealer because an all cream look that you put on with your fingers tends to move around. Everything starts to sort of fade into one another. And so as we get these other products on my face, I'm sure I'm gonna wanna re-brighten, recover. Things are going to get places that I don't want them to. So let's go with the mattifying powder. This is the Universal Shine Control shade. It's just a regular translucent. However, it being kind of talky and white, I'm not sure that it's gonna work on every single skin tone, but I could be wrong. I just happen to be very, very pale. So we're going to pull out our fancy little brush here, dibbity dab that in there. So these two all contain talc. EWG gives talc a 5. It does tend to be kind of inflammatory about a lot of things, but you be the judge of whether talc is something that you want to put on your body. It's not something everybody wants to put on their body. I hope that it's not an issue for you guys that I might review things that don't meet every single criteria for cleanliness. It's not necessarily an endorsement for me to review something. It's not like I'm getting paid to review this. I bought this with my own money. I think it's more important to be informed and for me to inform you guys of the potential red or yellow flag ingredients than for me to be perfect all the time, you know? So I did that with the brush this time, but the last time that I did this, I also used the little sponge that they give you, the little applicator, when I finished it up. So we'll probably do that too. I got 2 shades of the bronzer because there is a warm and a cool. So this being the warm, this being the cool, they are good and pigmented. I have liked these as I've been putting them on the last couple of days. So one of them is to warm the face up. The other one is to contour and kind of cut your cheekbones and things like that. So I'm gonna start with the warm one and I'm gonna dab that off on the back of my hand because this is pretty pigmented, as you can see, and so I don't want to get myself in trouble. But it's an absolutely beautiful shade. It's a really, really good warm your face up bronzer shade. It enhances my freckles in a way that I really like. It spreads really easily. It's not super blotchy. I think that all of these are between what, like $12 and $16 a piece. And you get 3.5 grams of product in every one of the little tubs. The entire stack with both bronzers and the brush, I think cost me like $100. And that's 1, 2, 3, oh boy, Kackie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 products and a brush. And I also think I got some kind of introductory discount. I'm not sure. Ugh, yeah, it's fun to put this bronzer on because it's a really, really good, like sun-kissed color. And the brush is really nice. I like it. It's definitely really soft. It's not too packed, so it does a good job diffusing the color. So now I'm gonna go into the Cool Bronzer, which could be also known as a contour bronzer. I'm just gonna kind of use that to build my cheekbones here, give them a little bit of help, get underneath here. And the difference, if this is an unfamiliar idea to you, is anything that's warm is going to come towards the eye. Anything that's cool is going to recede from the eye. Obviously, these shades aren't that dissimilar to each other, so this isn't going to be like an exaggerated illusion to your eyes, but the whole idea being that a contour is supposed to trick the eye into things being deeper and more shadowy, whereas a bronzer is meant to just add color. It's supposed to make you look tanner. So sometimes I completely disobey those rules. In fact, often I completely disobey those rules and I will just throw a bronzer on as a contour, but since we have both today, we might as well. Okay, so we have created a really nice kind of bronzy situation, a nice contour situation. I've been kind of emptying the last of my brush onto my eyelids, which I also don't mind. There is also a highlight here that we're going to use right now, and it's going to be kind of counterintuitive because typically I would put a highlight on after my blush, but we're really gonna save that blush till last. So I'm going to use the same brush they gave me. They didn't give it to me. The same brush I ordered, because the whole idea of this is that it's going to be self-contained. It's going to be your whole beauty routine in one little stack. Otherwise I would typically go in with a smaller brush, but we're just gonna see. Okay, I don't like that highlighter. It's too glittery. It's really, really yellow. Let's see. That's too much. I don't know. It's not creamy enough to get away with that much shimmer. And it's too gold. I don't like that. I just don't like it for me. I mean, everybody's got a preference on highlighters, but that's not my preference on a highlighter. I like it to be creamier than that. I like it to deposit just a little bit more pigment than that. That looks like eyeshadow. Just gonna call them like I see them, you know? Yeah, I'm gonna kind of empty my brush a little bit. Come back over that. I don't love that. I don't love the way that that looks. So that was both bronzers, the concealer, the highlighter, and the shine control powder. Now I'm gonna go in with the cream cheek, and I got it in the shade Mauve. And they have 3 shades, I believe. I have worn this, and I do really, really, really like this shade of Mauve. It's so pretty. This isn't the most concentrated thing in the world, but I think that it is subtle beauty, Kackie. It's not supposed to be. And I am tapping it on because I have powder on my face, which just feels odd to me. It feels like a strange choice to put cream and powder products together that are meant to layer on one another. We can do it, but this is definitely a much more tedious process than just putting something on with a brush. And maybe that's why this feels counterintuitive to me, is because I do tend to wear more blush than anything else. And so anybody else who just probably would put a little tiny bit of blush on probably wouldn't have a problem with it being a cream on top of a powder. But it is considered to be one of those like cardinal sins of makeup, right? It's like you go cream and then powder, not the other way around. But you can see that's just a really beautiful color. It looks like a natural flush on me. Pulls very flattering tones out of my lips and out of my skin. Oh, this is so tedious. It's kind of annoying. Like, I wish that there was like a sponge or something. I don't want to dip that applicator in there. It's gonna make something goopy. If I try and dip that in powder after I've put it in cream, it's just gonna make mud. And I don't want to do that. You can tell I'm getting a little impatient. It's just it's like a lot of work to distribute blush on top of such a matte surface. And it is a lip and cheek, so we're gonna put a little on my lips too. And as expected, I'm going to touch back up underneath my eyes with the concealer. It just tends to disappear and look a little bit weird when you're moving products around so much on top of it. Is anyone else ready for fall? Like, I honestly thought that I was going to be able to resist going to Bath & Body Works and buying all of the fall scented candles when it came around, but it's literally like August 10th and I'm ready. I'm freaking ready. It's like 102, 103 degrees outside lately and I don't even care. Okay, so as expected, like I said, I'm going to go in with our little Poppin' Kitchen applicator here. I'm gonna dip that into the powder and I'm gonna go underneath my eyes with that so that we can kind of set anything that wants to crease, give this a fighting chance of lasting all day. Because we are going to be wear testing it. Not that I really think that there's going to be that much to show for it, but I like to be thorough. So you can see, at least on me, like that is a very translucent shade. It does go mattifying, but also doesn't deposit any pigment. So I could be wrong on the whole it not matching every single person's skin thing. That seals the deal. This actually is subtly, quietly, kind of the most important part of the equation. However, it is putting that film on the top of the powder because it's picking product back up. So that's a little annoying. I have a brand new Thrive mascara. Oh, I'm just getting that all over my face. Brand new tube. It's very wet. Everybody dreads doing their brows. It's probably my favorite part of my makeup routine. I feel like it just sets everything off. I am not happy with the coverage over my lip. We're gonna build that. Yes, I'm putting cream on top of powder, but we already established that, so. I feel like I do that with Glossier too. This is my channel where we break rules, you know what I mean? Nobody can hold us down, you know? I said I love doing my brows, and then I went completely ham sandwich on them, and now I feel like it's a little bit too much. So, gonna put some lip gloss on. Kind of set off this color on my lips here. More blush. Hello and welcome to Mascara and Chapstick Twitter. My name's Kackie. I'll be your guide. Yeah, this is definitely the that look, you know, where it's like, oh, makeup? What's makeup? It's kind of my vibe. I kind of really love this look. It makes me feel really pretty with very, very little makeup on my face. The weird thing is you have to concentrate kind of hard to put them back in order so that you preserve the integrity of the ombre. Oh no, see, I screwed it up. Look at that. Oh, it's like a puzzle. Is that everything? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I'm already having some issues, and that is because it's a little bit warm in this room. I don't keep my air conditioning on while I'm filming, and it's really early in the morning. It is not particularly hot, but I am a little bit just kind of schwitzing in my mustache area, and the powder is already kind of breaking up. I'm trying to sort of shine control that area, and I'll show you in a second. I'm gonna zoom you guys in and show you what's happening. Let's take a look here. It doesn't, I mean, granted, yes, I put cream on top of a powder, but still, it's just doing things that I wouldn't necessarily expect. And I think it's because the concealer is so oily and it just sort of picks things up and moves them around. However, underneath my eyes, I feel like everything went fine. I just wouldn't necessarily recommend doing what I did, like adding more coverage. And then here, I was very, very gentle, kind of putting the cream blush back on top of the powder products. And I feel like they were diffused enough and lightweight enough on the skin that it worked. But I still kind of disagree with the idea of this stack not having a powder blush option. I do stand up for my right to blush. So I am going to reserve judgment on these products until I finish the wear test. I'm gonna wear this for at least 8 hours, see how they hang in there. I don't really like the highlighter, but the rest of it seems fine. These bronzers seem like something that I would want to wear on a regular basis, mainly just because I like the formula and I really like the actual colors. So it's about surface of the sun, 1 million degrees outside right now in Austin, Texas. So naturally I'm going to go and shop for fall candles right now, and I will see you guys at the end of my day and we will talk about whether this stood up. Anybody? Hello. And welcome back, me. This is what I usually look like. I just can't wear them because the lights reflect in the lenses, but this is normal me. Also, I don't know what's going on here. My lip is still swollen right there, and I kind of maybe chewed on it a little bit while I was reading, so try not to mind my weirdness. So anyway, I realized when I did the first part of the video that I didn't really talk in depth about the ingredients, and I forgot that they had sent me these alongside the order, and these are all cards describing each of the items, and then they have these diagrams on the back of them that show where to put it on your face. Kind of highlights here, because the lip and cheek and the concealer being, cream based, have dozens of ingredients in them, but the main thing that I noticed, the thread running through all of them, is that they all have dimethicone in them, so be careful there. The powders are pretty straightforward. Mica, dimethicone, zinc stearate, silica, oh boy, polymethyl silsesquoxane. And honestly, don't be afraid of those kinds of long words all the time just because they're long. A lot of times that means it's made in a lab to be very inert, very unthreatening, at least in my experience. And so then lauryl lysine, which also gets a 1 on EWG. The lip and cheek has tons and tons. We get soybean oil, jojoba, avocado oil, candelilla wax, castor oil. It does have beeswax in it, and it does have acetylated lanolin alcohol. So, again, I'm just trying to keep you guys informed. I'm not a chemist, but yes, this is definitely a line that while they are making an effort, they're not necessarily self-identifying as a clean brand. And so again, this is a brand that you guys really requested and wanted to know more about. I do know also, I mentioned in the original video that we talked about this, that when I emailed with the owner, she did mention that the next iteration of these, the packaging is going to be recyclable. This current iteration is not, but I think that they're doing really well. And so I think that there will be a subtle 2.0. So that said, let's talk about the performance of the makeup. I did redo this area after I got off camera because I felt like that wasn't really a fair way to start a wear test. I had done something that maybe wasn't necessarily recommended by putting cream back on top of powder, even though I did it under my eyes for whatever reason right here, it just kind of gummed up. And so I redid that, and it still, this is just where I sweat, it still did something weird. I'm gonna do one more zoom in and show you guys, but everywhere else looks pretty darn good. Like, even under my eyes looks really nice, even though, you know, we're not getting a ton of coverage. It's still better than what my eyes look like without any makeup on them. The makeup didn't completely disappear, and it did stay matte, and it didn't crease. So that's a lot to ask from a makeup, especially in the conditions of, you know, over 100-degree weather for, you know, 8+ hours. The cream cheek maintained its color really nicely, and it stayed dewy. It may have gotten dewier. I did sit outside for a long time today, just like enjoying my smoothie and reading and stuff. And I would say that, you know, nothing budged there. It stayed just a nice consistency. And I do like, this is different. I like that the concealer around my eyes and everything didn't stay so dewy that it broke my mascara up. The Thrive mascara won't run, but if you sweat around your eyes or anything, you would have to understand the nature of this mascara. It comes off with warm water in tubes, and so it's like little tubes start to kind of break off, I guess is the best way to put it. That didn't happen here. That happens with Glossier. Glossier, their stretch concealer is super dewy. It's very nourishing. It's phenomenal. I love it. It's very buildable. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous concealer. But I do have to deal over the course of the day with it starting to break the little tubes off of my mascara. This didn't do that. This is going to be a lot better for someone who has a little bit oilier situation around their eyes. I'm not going to say that this is like, you know, super mattifying, but it's a lot more mattifying than Glossier. That said, claims-wise, they do say that the Shine Control powder should be able to be reapplied throughout the day, and I just don't think that it has that capability as much as they would want it to. If I were to use that little sponge or the brush right now to kind of try and top off on my dewiness, I think that that powder would kind of build in an ugly way, because that's kind of what we did in the beginning. It just isn't that formula. It's a little too talky. It's a little bit too chalky and dry. We've talked about this in the past, how you have to match the lightness of a powder, the finely milledness of a powder, with the lightness of a face of makeup. So if something is kind of dewy on your skin, you need that powder to be able to not break that product up underneath it. It needs to be light enough, like the Ilia is super, super light, but like Thrive, I would not throw that on top of a dewy look because it's just gonna soak it up and break up. And I think that they kind of missed the mark on this by making the powder just a little bit too heavy to wear on top of these products. It didn't break up horribly, but it's not going to do the over the course of the day reapplication shine control thing that they are claiming that it's going to do. So that is the concealer and the powder. I think that the cream blush does what it says it's going to do. The bronzer, I love. I really do. I am going to probably continue using them just because I really like the shades. They're really, really pretty. The warm is so nice and warm without being orangey, and the cool is so nice and cool without being gray. There's just something really nice about them, and because there is dimethicone in the powders even, they just go on really, really smoothly and they stay put. Everything does. I did also use a setting spray. I kind of forgot to do that on camera. It didn't occur to me because I was like, oh, it's a dewy look, but there's still powder. And so I did use a setting spray just very lightly once I got off camera. No secrets. So I'm gonna zoom in and show you guys what we're working with here. And it's really warm upstairs in my house, so I am sweating a little bit even right now, but it's probably enhancing, honestly, the effects. So there we go. So that's the biggest thing to show, is that even though I reapplied the concealer and the powder over my lip and it looked really good, It did, because I just completely took it off and started over. And I didn't reapply the powder after that to try and mattify or anything. I still tried to like keep it scientific. It still broke up, and it broke up like aggressively, but everywhere else for whatever reason it didn't. Even under my eyes, it still looks fine. So I don't know. I think it just might be sort of like a limitation of that texture of powder. It just isn't oil absorbing enough or lightweight enough to really go with. I think that they need to kind of go back to the drawing board store on the powder, but the rest of it is really, really beautiful. So yeah, I do understand that this is a very, very new brand. And so obviously there are going to be holes in the repertoire and probably plans that they have in the making that I'm like, hey, you should do this. And they're like, dude, we're trying, you know, like it's so easy for me to sit here in an armchair about it. But my main takeaways are like, as a consumer, for you, I would skip the powder just because I think that there are better powders out there, and you're not gonna get, you know, pulled over at TSA for having a bigger thing of powder. Just get like one of the mini ones of Cover FX or something like that. But the rest of them are really, really nice. I do think that the choice to make a cream blush on top of everything else is odd, but it does work if you're very judicious about the places that you put it on your face and how you decide to wear it. It's a little bit tedious to put it on, but the bronzers are amazing. The concealer is really good if you found that the Glossier Stretch Concealer was too dewy for you and it kind of frustrated you. This does stay a little lower profile on the skin and a little bit more matte without looking like a different texture, without catching the light differently. Oh, and the highlighter. I didn't like the highlighter. I just feel like they need more than one shade of the highlighter, which I'm sure if anyone from the company is watching this, they're like, we know, okay? You know, they're probably working on another shade of highlighter. They tried to make the first one really universal, but I would honestly argue, for the sake of maybe this not being an all powder thing, like if we are gonna go in with some cream products, try a cream highlight. Or at the very least, something that's a little bit more neutral, not so gold and not so glittery. That's all. So those are my thoughts on Subtle Beauty. Altogether, I think that this is a really cool emerging brand. Not that they're perfect, but I think that they are going in a really, really good direction. And I think that it's a fantastic idea and that there's definitely a market for it. So that is where I leave you guys today. Mike and I are about to go see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and I'm so excited. So excited. Were you guys into that book series, like the nostalgia of it all? I'm so pumped. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this, if you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. If you have any more questions about this and how it performed and things like that, let me know down in the comments below. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, guys, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with my sweaty, sweaty self today. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.